I'm Madhusudan. I'm IAS officer 2015 batch. I am from Karnataka and I'm posted in Uttar Pradesh cadre. So when it comes to the interview, there are certain aspects which I have um, broken down into. The first aspect is mainly the DAF portion, because the moment you enter the interview hall, the first thing which they are going to see is your DAF. So starting with that, the key points which I have thought is, when it comes to the DAF, we have the detailed descriptions of the candidate completely, wholesomely. I mean, it's starting right from the name to the even to goes to an extent of the qualification and the working of the parents also. So starting with that, we could start with, we should have a complete idea, or we should know the meaning of a name completely. That's a very important aspect. And I can see most of them are, I think two of them are from Rajasthan and one is from Karnataka there. So you should know the meaning of the name, if it has any historical significance or cultural significance, it has some roots to any of your villages, because mostly the South Indian names which we have, they have their roots to the villages and all. And sometimes it's also less related to our the sect, or it's related to some caste system and all. So we should be very clear about, we should know completely about the name. I know it all sounds very naive when I'm telling you all this, but just for a point which could be taken down when it comes to the interview, we should not be missing out on anything of that sort. And second thing is the place of birth. It also plays a good role. For example, two of them are from, I think, from Jaipur, and one is from the Bangalore. So you should have a complete information about the place where we come from, the place we have taken birth. So it entirely, I mean, it should have a complete overview of it, the place. For example, historically or culturally, any other significance which that place holds. So we should have an idea about it. And the next, going on, it comes to the father's occupation. I'm going entirely step by step for the DAF, because most of the things what we think is, when we go with the DAF, we usually ignore certain key points, and we focus mainly on the hobbies, and our optional thing and all. So but this also plays a very important role. Over a period of this session, I'll also explain how it has played a role and all. When it comes to father's occupation, it also holds a good role, because whether your father belongs to a government sector, does he work in a government sector, or was he a part of a government sector, or or if he belongs to works in the any private sector. So we should have an idea how these sectors are contributing to the nation's economy and all. It's not that they would go into depth of it. It also depends on how we turn our interview into. um, so if father works in any of the government sector, we should know how the organization is originated, what are the importance of it, how is it contributing to the nation's economy. It could not be contributing directly, but indirectly there will be an impact of any organization which plays a role. And moving on to the next step, it should be, when it comes to private sector, we should also know why was that organization established, and what was the reason behind it, and how is it, are there any interactions with the of this private sector with any of the government institutions. Mostly is nowadays we are able to see that private sector is playing a big role in respect to any work which is being outsourced by the government machinery. So we should know an importance of that also. Going on, it comes to the basics of the candidate. It's like the school or the colleges where we come from. For example, most of them, two of the students here are from IIT, so you should know the national importance of it. When was it called? When were the institutions called institution of national importance? So there was an act which was enacted, so we should know why was it done, was it required. Similarly, the one of the candidates from the Christ College, so we should know what is the significance of it, when was it established. So that is one key point which usually is been questioned in the institutions, because the straightforward question is, you study from such a big institutions and then you take up a good job, so why do you want to really give up that and come for the IS job? So this is one of the questions which has been asked regularly. Going on, when it comes to the this is the initial basic part of the DAF, wherein we have an idea about our the place, the name, the institutions, the father's occupation. And going on, when we go in detail of the DAF, what we go to the next section is the personality of a candidate. So I know most of them would have faced an interview. They would have a different opinion. It's not necessary that everybody has to agree with whatever I'm saying, but these are some of the points which I have faced, and some of the points which when we sat together with a couple of friends which whom we cleared and all. So these are the couple of things which we discussed among us, so that which usually come forward. For example, when it comes to the personality and all, the moment you enter, you should take a permission to when you enter, you should greet them properly. And if the panel is always sitting in a concave manner, so you should look at each of the individual and greet them, and you should have an eye contact with each of the individual. And before you sit down on the chair, you should take a permission to sit. You should be sitting upright, you should not be folding your legs. and and when the interview goes on, and when the interview starts, so the basic thing is, there would be initially they could throw you all the questions which you might not be knowing, or initially they would ask you very simple question which you'll be knowing and you're very confident about it. But the principle is, you should be listening to them properly, and you should always let them finish the question. So only after that you should take a step forward for answering that question. And it might so happen that there are I mean, they might the panelists might ask the question in a fast manner, in a hurry manner. But if you're not able to understand it, if you're not able to grasp what exactly the question was about, what are they expecting out of you, you could request them politely to repeat the question, and then accordingly you can take your time to answer the questions. So there should not be any assumptions that this is what they might be expecting. So you should be knowing what they're expecting. I mean, you should understand the question properly, only then you should go on for answering the questions. I'll explain all of this. I'm just putting forward the points. Then I'll explain how these all the factors played a role in my interview. So probably that could be an experience for you guys to take on when you go for an interview. And the next thing is, there might be instances wherein you might not be knowing an answer at all, or you might be knowing answer partially. But the key role here is, be very polite in either taking a time, asking for their permission to take out time for 10 seconds or something, or 20 seconds, however you feel. And then you can think over and ponder over it, and then you can give the answers. Or there might be instance where you don't have an idea about that question at all. I mean, you are like totally blank on that question. So you could this is not a point where you need to panic. And they are not expecting a candidate to know everything out of the blue, and they're not expecting you should know you should know and give a perfect answer. So what they're looking at a candidate is, how exactly are you handling the tough situations. For example, they throw you some question which is totally out of the blue and you don't know how to handle it, you can straight away politely say, I'm sorry, I don't have an idea about it. So they will really appreciate it, rather than we trying to answer it, beating around the bush and putting forward points which is not going to make any sense. That will actually give a negative impression. These are certain parameters which also play a big role when you're into the service. And the next point is, there will be some questions where when you will be knowing answers, I mean, more than that. Because for example, after writing mains and practicing so much, you have so much content with yourselves. So it so happens that we should keep on telling more and more, but you should know where to limit the point, and don't have to overstep an answer, and you don't have to be too optimistic or too pessimistic about any answers. For example, when it comes to how do you solve for example poverty in a very small village. This is like something, when I ask you to write 200 words on it, you can write 400 words on it, because you can write different angles, economically, strategically, you can talk about it politically, legislatively. But there has to be some limit where you think you should draw a line ki, this is where I need to stop my answer, and this is where I should put forward my points. So you don't overstep, and don't be too optimistic, because the panelists also know ki these are such big problems which are going on in a country for a long period of time. It's not that we are going to solve it in a day or a two, in a 5 years, 6 years. It's a slow process, and it's a goal. It's a long-term goal. So it should go on slowly, and it should incremental change would happen in the society. That's when this there would be a sustainable in the system. So we should know how to limit ourselves when it comes to answering. And there might be instances wherein you might actually disagree with the panelist. I mean, you do not have to you don't have to actually straight away counter their thing. Let them put forward their points. Based on that, you listen to their points. You could agree to their points, because there would be some gravity in their points also. Along with that, you should also put forward your points, saying, I mean, I do agree with your points, but this is what I think. So this is important. The reason being, you should not nod your head for whatever they say, but it's not that you should have to be too strong-headed to put forward that your point is the right point. So there has to be a balance between the two. So there will be, so this will actually help us in building. They'll understand that you are able to balance that opinion. This usually comes in, again, I'm telling you, this also again plays a very important role when you're into the service. There you will face so many people, where it might be politician, it might be your seniors, it might be a boss, it might be anyone who would be strong-headed with his opinion. But it's very necessary, it's very important that you put forward a point and you have to take a stand. But that has to be a polite way of taking that stand. And as I said, you don't have to nod your head for everything, whatever they say. If you disagree, you politely disagree with whatever they say. And there might be instances wherein they might throw questions at you, which you'll have, I mean, as I said, you'll have, I'm not able to recall. So it's for example, I'll give you an example of this. When I entered my interview hall, the straight away asked me, when I entered, my interview was in 2015, and there were a couple of new schemes which were launched in the 2014. So they asked me list all the government schemes announced in an entire year. So it was an absolutely tough question, and I had no idea what I had to answer. Only few questions which I was able to which were able to answer, schemes which I able to recall. So I recalled, but then they kept this initially. Then I said this is what I could recall. Then they gave me a hint. Then again they asked me to recall. So this went on, but at one point of time, it was so happened that they were really angry. Ki, am I here to take your interview, or am I here to help you out? So that's when I mellowed down and said this is what I could recall. So they were happy with my answer, because they were not expecting me to recall all the answers. Because one of the panelists intervened and then said, I also want to know the date on which they were announced. For example, it was August 15th when Make in India. I still remember it was Make in India scheme was announced. It was October 2nd when they had announced the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So all such schemes are announced on a very specific days, which had a national importance. But if you remember, it's well and good. If you don't remember, it's not a bad thing. It's okay if you don't remember. You just need to politely answer that. It's okay. Politely, you need to answer that. I was sorry, sir. I'm not able to recall all the schemes. So they mellow down, and then they take out the next one, and they move on to the next questions. And when the interview goes on, it also depends on how you guide them. For example, if you ask them, if you tell something, for example, just as I said now, as I was telling you, with respect to the schemes, when they asked me to name the schemes, it could have gone straight away after I said October 2nd, make Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. I could have directed them into going into the sanitation part, the play, how are we going ahead in sanitation, improving the sanitation process in the country and all. But it went on nextly for me, it went on to the different way. It went on to my optional subject and all. So this is, I mean, it'll entirely depend on you, how you guide them. So if you go in depth, and if you go keep on pressurizing on certain things, they'll go in depth, and there will be some point where we might not have an idea. I'm not saying you might not have an idea, but there will be some breaking point where you'll not be able to answer the question. So rather than that, you should be able to direct them in specific way, so that you don't lose a track of the series of questions and the answer which you could be able to put forward. And there are also instances wherein two or three people could throw questions at you, and they'll not even wait for you to answer for one person. So this also happened in my interview when I was the panelist was the main interview forum was under HC Gupta sir. So and sir was asking me about public admission. There was one person who was sitting on the left. He was throwing questions on the PubAd. Then the right one person was throwing questions about the current affairs. This usually happens. They try to test you. How do you handle the pressure, and how do you manage when people are throwing questions at you, which usually happens when you become an IAS officer. The people start questioning you. They'll in the meetings and in the public forums and all. So that actually decide how you handle the main situation. So what I did was I had to give utmost importance to the head person, the chairperson. So I answered his question. Then accordingly, I requested people, the panelists, to repeat their questions, and I answered them. So they were a bit. They do get annoyed because we asked them repeatedly, but it's better rather than we assuming that this person might have asked question this and we partially listening to their question and giving our answer in a partial way. That will usually impact our score also. And the next, when I was looking at the DAF of all the three kids here, there were certain hobbies put forward by all of them. One person was talking about the football. One person was talking about the yoga, the NCC, mono acting, the dance. Very interesting one was conversation with the strangers. So starting with the football, the person who has written it, I would request that person to have an idea about the size of the football to the size of the ground, and what are the recent developments or changes which have happened in the football. For example, you could have seen that European League, which has happened as of now. They're getting the it was entirely like different leagues happen in the Europe, and then the best person comes out and plays for the Champions League. But now the countries in the Europe they have got a fixed spot in it. So how does it impact the European League, Championship League? So this is something, the current affairs which you need to know, and you have to link it with your hobby. It should not be just that I love playing football, so I just know I just play my football. So you should know intricate details of the football also, the size, where India stands in the sport, and what more can we do to improve the sport. The famous personality of the sport within the country, and your famous personality. They might ask you, if I ask you to pick one footballer, whom do you gonna pick? His statistics, his numbers, you should be knowing. There are always the jerseys they wear, they have a specific numbers over them. The logic behind it all sounds where does it come from? But they expect us to know if I hobby is something which we love and which you like to do when given an opportunity. If I give a spare time, this is what I would like to do. So you should be knowing about it. So for me, it was the swimming. So I had to know right from the length, the width, the depth of the water, the clothing which were being used. And that was a time when Michael Phelps had won 8 golds in 2002 2012. So the kind of dress he wore, how did it affect his drag? So all these things, intricate details, you should know about the field, the hobby which you mentioned. For example, the next person had written about the yoga. It is like, it's like the major hobby. It's a major the sport or activity which is being now taken up across the world. So it was started by our country, and we have a day to celebrate it. I think it's June 21st, and then who started it, especially if it is, I don't know whether it was written by any South Indian or something. I think it was started by South Indian, who I don't remember the name actually. The importance, what was the reason for adoption of it, different asanas. They will ask you to show some of the breathing asanas. And the importance of the asanas, how do you relate these asanas or the postures to the current COVID situation? Is it going to help us? How it is going to help us in the physical development, the entire stress? That's what yoga is emphasis upon. How do you handle stress? So the next question is like, you should do yoga, you should do meditation. So how do you link all that things? That's something we need to be very thorough about. The next person had written about the mono acting. It's a very good skill. I don't have much idea about it, how it started and all, but what are I think it's mostly I do feel that it's famous in European culture and also. If it's so, I'm assuming it. So if it's so, then you should have, where is it originated? Are there any schools for your coaching? For mono acting, just like we have NSD. So anything related to that, and you should be able the person who has written mono acting, you should be ready to show off your skills also. It's a very good opportunity to show your your extrovert behavior. So that could actually help us when you're into the service. And not necessarily that they'll ask everybody to do all the hobbies and show. For example, dance. one other person had written the dance, so you should be knowing where it originated and why was it taken into account, how did it become a famous activity. So all this we should be knowing. And the last one of the other interesting hobby written by one of the candidate was conversation with the strangers. I would suggest if you're written that, you should be extremely thoughtful about the positive conversation as well as the negative conversations which you had with the stranger. It might be good, it might be bad, but if it is good, then if you have encountered good conversations, then put honestly the good conversations. If it is a negative conversation, you should be honest enough in telling that it was a conversation which I didn't like, but it happened over a course of time with the stranger. And don't make up anything or don't lie anything about your hobby. If you don't know about it, I would suggest there should not be any such instances, because they'll not go into like key to the the extent to which you're preparing. I don't think they'll go beyond that to know key whether you know your hobby or not. But it should not be like you're going to cook up a story to tell okay, it was a good conversation or it was a bad conversation. So I would request, if you had any good conversation with any of the stranger or a negative conversation, I would suggest you to write it down somewhere and recollect it. Try to recall it as many times as you can, so that you can put it forward in a very natural way. This is with respect to the hobbies. And next, when I look into the DAPs, there are a lot of the candidates here. Three candidates here. Two are from belong to the engineering section, and one candidate belongs to the commerce section. So you should be knowing about your subjects. The panelist might be a part of that. He might belong to any of the streams. For example, as I said, HC Gupta I was under HC Gupta panel, and HC Gupta teaches chemistry and chemical engineering at IIT Delhi, I suppose. So I have done my engineering masters from chemical engineering from Indian Institute of Science. So he went into depth into chemical engineering. He asked me the laws of thermodynamics. I think the civil engineer guys, the guy who might be understanding here, the laws of thermodynamics. He asked me to write the mathematical equation of thermodynamics, and he also asked me to give me an alternate forms of thermodynamics, the laws. So then there were some questions which I was able to understand, and there was the first law of thermodynamics which I was agreeing upon, and he was not agreeing upon it, and he asked me to write an equation on it. Somehow I was able to recall an equation, so I wrote an equation, but he was still not agreeing to it. But it was I didn't have to prove my point, or I didn't have to I didn't have to argue with him. So he said that no, this is what your written is wrong. So I just said, I tried explaining it to him, but he didn't listen. Then I said, I'm sorry, sir. This is what I feel, and if you say this is the equation, so bad. He didn't get angry at it. He was like he calmed down a bit when he said, when I agreed with fine, it might be right, because he's at a much bigger position than me. So it was like so it didn't have to go in a wrong way. So but you need to know about engineering subjects. You need to know about the core things of your subject, and you need to know about the favorite subject. They might ask you what is your favorite subject, and they might, if I'm not saying every interview will go in that manner, but if the panelist has or been worked in any of the stream, I'm pretty sure he's going to ask you about the details or any of the subjects of which you might have studied. So you should be very thorough with it. Don't go blank with any of your the studies which you have done, because two are from IIT and one is from the very good college in Bangalore, that is Christ. So you should be knowing about your subjects thoroughly. To an extent that you can explain. It might so happen that it's been a long time, you might be out of touch, but you still have time, so you could go through some of the subjects. And this is how you can direct them if they are going in a one particular direction with respect to engineering. And then you could direct them, so this is my stronghold, this is one of my subjects where I am interested in, or I scored well. So you could direct them to your subject, and then you can ask them. Then this will eventually lead them to ask questions in that specific subject itself. So that could be a brownie point after the with respect to the engineering subjects. The next thing is the optionals. I didn't get to see the optionals or the three people here, but you should be well versed with your options. I don't think that would be a problem, because everybody would be writing answers day in and out, and everybody would have written I mean so many answers that you know ki complete details of the optionals which you have written. So again, you should have a broad view of the option which you write. Also try to relate it to your the dynamic thing, that is the current affairs and all. So it should not be a static answer, it should not be a bookish answer. So I would request you to read your optionals and link it to the dynamic. For example, my optional was public administration, and they asked me, I think a sir has guided me a lot in public administration. I used to write answers with the sir. So in public administration, they asked me about um, the behavioral hierarchy which we study. I'm not able to recall, but they tried to they asked me to relate or ask me the importance of that hierarchy in the current scenario. So that was a specific time when there was study going on about how do you bring in a change in employees in the government sector. That is motivational theory. Sorry, it was one of the motivational theory where we have, is it the money, or is it the status, is the opportunity or the recognition which we get, which one of the factor which actually impacts or motivates a person to work harder in the organization. That was one of the things. And since it's a public admission, they'll ask, I don't think anybody has an option taken here, or any of three of you, but they'll ask Weber's bureaucracy theory and all. So this could be a good question, because usually this is how the bureaucracy, and this is where it came from. So we should be knowing about the optionals properly. So this is where it all boils down to your the interview. The next point which I would also like to hear from the candidate is, first is, how did everyone choose their services? Because a couple of them have written, one of the person has written, given second choice to the Indian Foreign Service. Fourth, one of the person has given fourth, another one is fifth. So the person who has given second, you should be able to answer why second, and person who has given it fifth, you should be able to answer why fifth. Because there might be instance, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but you should be able, because it so happens one of my batchmate who had faced the interview here, he had also given fifth option. Mine was also fifth option. Luckily I was not asked this question, but they'll ask if an IFS person is in the panel, they'll ask, they don't feel that good key the service has been given, this foreign service is being given the fifth choice, despite it being a most one of the recognized service there. So you should be able to answer why fifth or why second or why fourth. I would like to hear after this points here. And the next thing is with respect to the cadres. I would also like to know ki, most of the people have written the since it's been more complicated for you guys at zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and all. So I would like to know why or did you guys give cadre option based on any of the opinions taken, or was it your own choice? So I mean, if it is, for example, when I see the Rajasthan cadre people, I mean the Rajasthan candidates here, so I feel you guys have given it Rajasthan as the first option, as usual, home cadre, and then Haryana and Punjab. But I would like to know, the AGMIT was fifth for some people, AGMIT was third in some options. Whereas in Karnataka, the candidate from Karnataka has given Karnataka as first option. That's a good thing. Anyway, that's how it works out. And next is Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. So was it your own choice? How did you come to that decision, or how was it? I mean, they'll not go into detail of it. The reason being, it's there might be instances where, for me, I didn't have an idea about how should I choose a state. Since I come from a Karnataka, I had no idea about how the North India, I mean the states are, and how they deal with things. So I had no idea about it, and Uttar Pradesh was my eighth option. For us, it was one line, the state selection. So it was the Karnataka's home cadre, and next was close by state. So if you have a logic or reason behind it, it's well and good. If not, then I don't think that will have a negative impact on your interview, because that's something which you guys don't know about it as of now. But you should be ready if they ask you how did you come to the option, because I see one of the candidates' father is an IRS officer, customs. So if sir has, I mean, your father has given given you I mean, how to idea about how to choose, So then it's okay. It's not a bad thing. You could say it loudly ki yes, my father guided me in this, so that won't be a problem. If it's not, then you ask someone, somebody helped you out to write this, then it be very honest in this. You don't have to, because that's not going to make a big impact. But sometimes you should know there are certain people. It so happens that the South Indians prefer always the South Indian states, and the North Indian people always prefer the North Indian states. So but so this usually happens, but you should be thorough with, or should be ready with any kind of questions related to these cadre selection also. Next thing, I think couple of them are working also here, so you are ready to leave this job and take up IAS. So you should be very well able to answer your giving up such a big job. You're giving up such a huge salary, and you want to serve the nation. So the next question is, so this is a tough question. I think you guys have to take a stand on why you're going to leave the job and all, because I see a couple of them are also working. A couple of the candidates here are working or have been worked and they've been earning, so you left the job. So what motivated you? That's one of the questions they might ask. And one question they'll definitely ask, why IAS? So this is something which you have to be thorough, and it should come out of your heart. It should not be, it should nobody should be guiding you to prepare an answer for this, because the originality would be gone. The actually the candidates, the identity will be lost if I tell you why should one become an IS. So this is a couple of points. So I think I should open it up for the for the candidates if they have a questions uh, regarding this. It was a very small session because I got a very small less time to prepare for it. Panchayat elections are going on here, so but I think I have given a couple of good points, but based on again how sir says, if some more points or some more things have to be worked upon, then I would be ready to help the kids to get into the service. Thank you, sir.
Guys, can you please open up for questions if you have any with respect to your DAS? I think one of the person has PubAd as optional, another one has political science as optional. And Deepesh, what's your optional? I think she's not responding. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Saurabh Meena. Actually, I saw the session full, and I had one small doubt. Actually, our interview will be basically in June, probably. Probably they will start in June. So that time, that it will be peak of summers. So is wearing a coat necessary at that point of time, or only tie and formal shirt with formal pant will be fine?
It's preferred if you wear, but if you're that discomfortable, then it's okay when if you go with a thing. Everybody does not have a coat. So if my interview also was in the month of May 29th. So it was a peak summer in Delhi.
Okay.
So it's like you sweat a lot and already you're tensed about the interview.
Yes.
It so happens. So what you can do is you don't have to wear it till the time you enter the hall. You have enough time. There's a first room where your documents are checked. You don't have to wear it there. The next room is the place where you go and sit, and the candidates have been divided based on the panel, and then you go to the interview. So you have enough time, and that's all air conditioned. So that won't be a problem.
Okay.
But not necessary. It's not necessary everybody has to wear. There's no such compulsion. Only thing is you should be able to carry yourself properly, but a tie would be the good thing to do.
Okay. And so, till when can we expect the interviews to start?
Oh, tough question, yes. So I think this should go on. I think probably in the month of. I feel it should start in the month of May, I suppose. But was it supposed to be held in April?
Yeah, it was supposed to start from 26th April.
Probably if you go on, I think at end of May they might start. So the COVID thing is going on, so it's a tough thing.
And one more question, sir. In my hobbies, I have not written regarding football, but in my sports achievements in college, I was a member of the football team of the hostel that time. Now, any chances they might ask regarding football?
If it's not in your hobby, but you are a part of the team, you played football in the college?
Yes, sir, that time. But it's a long back.
No issues. अब recent developments पढ़ लेना
Okay.
फुटबॉल के लिए, एंड ज्यादा इसमें डिटेल में नहीं पूछेंगे। अगर वो तुम्हारे हॉबी में नहीं हो तो पता रहने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। वॉच रिसेंट मैचेस, देयर आर ओनली 2-3 प्लेयर्स हु हैव बीन इन नोटिस ऑल द टाइम, जैसे कि मेसी हो, रोनाल्डो हो, तो क्रिस्टियानो रोनाल्डो हो, तो ऐसे लोगों के बारे में थोड़ा पता लगेगा तो अच्छा रहेगा कि कौन से लीग्स कैसे होते हैं। ये आईपीएल कॉन्सेप्ट हमने पूरा वहीं से उठाया है एक्चुअली। तो ये थोड़ा, अब आईपीएल चल भी रहा है तो ये लिंक कर सकते हैं, तो थोड़ा पता रहेगा तो इट विल बी अ ब्राउनी पॉइंट। नहीं पता है तो इट्स नॉट लाइक अ बैड थिंग। इट्स नॉट कि इंटरव्यू इज नॉट टू कि तुम्हें कितना पता है, इंटरव्यू इज लाइक कि हाउ यू हैंडल द सिचुएशन, इम्पोर्टेंट है। तो वो दैट्स लाइक इम्पोर्टेंट थिंग। तो अब फॉर एग्जांपल आई थिंक आई विल टेक 2 मिनट्स ऑफ ऑल द कैंडिडेट आल्सो। जैसे मैं अपने बता रहा हूँ, जैसे मेरा जब इंटरव्यू हुआ था, इट्स लाइक दे जैसे भी एंटर होते ही 2 मिनट मुझे खड़ा कर दिया। उसके बाद दे आस्क्ड मी कि रिकॉल ऑल द स्कीम्स अनाउंस्ड बाय द थिंग, जैसे मैंने अभी कहा। इट वाज अ टफ क्वेश्चन, पता नहीं था, बट देन 4-5 बताने के बाद उन्होंने मैंने बैठने के लिए परमिशन दे दिया। बैठने के बाद ही वेंट ऑन, बट देन जब एक पॉइंट पे मेरा भी नहीं हो रहा था, याद नहीं आ रहा था, इट वाज लाइक कि फाइन, आई एम सॉरी सर। तो देन दे शिफ्टेड ऑन टू नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन। देन द इंटरव्यू वाज मोस्टली टेकन अप बाय एचसी गुप्ता सर, and he's a chemical engineer, so he knew the moment he opened up my DAF, he straight away went to my engineering section. Since I was from Institute of Science, he went into कि तुमने एक सीट बर्बाद कर दिया, तुमने सीट वेस्ट कर दिया, एक छोटे गरीब बच्चे का तुमने सीट वेस्ट कर दिया, तुमने ये कर दिया, क्यों तुम आना चाहते हो, चलो तुम explain me about thermodynamics like this. Then after this, when it went on, I had to put forward my thought, otherwise it would have not made any sense. He threw my DAF on the table and he turned his chair around. So that is an extent to which they'll try to put pressure on you, but that is how you deal with that product. You need to be very calm and be very patient. Even if they throw the DAF, you should carry that smile on your face. Okay? After that, they themselves come back and they'll deal with, because this usually happens. This has been happening. Once you enter the service, this is the usual thing which you're gonna deal with every day. I mean, जब हम मीटिंग में बैठते हैं या पॉलिटिशियंस आते हैं, they don't talk to you कि अच्छे से या ऐसे हो, so they'll deal with you in that way. So that's how they expect कि when you become an officer, you should be able to handle such situations. So then it went on. Then the next panelist was on the left hand side was हंसने लग गया था. Then I realized कि okay, they're trying to test me. So then मुझे लगा कि चलो let it go on. Then he started asking questions. Then it was a pabad question. तो ब्यूरोक्रेसी पे, इस पे, रिसेंट डेवलपमेंट्स पे, देन करंट अफेयर्स पे आ गए. तो धीरे धीरे करके वो इट वाज स्मूदन अप होता गया, एंड देन इट वाज इवेंचुअली वो अपना चेयर भी टर्न होके, द पैनलिस्ट आफ्टर सर्टेन टाइम वो अपना चेयर घुमा के पीछे देखने लग गए. अब मुझे इस कैंडिडेट में कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, इसको लेट हिम डू व्हाट ही वांट, लेट हिम से, यू गाइस आस्क क्वेश्चंस, आई एम नॉट इंटरेस्टेड. देन इवेंचुअली दैट वाज अ पैनिक थिंग, but it's like okay, you got to hold the nerves, because that is the point where you have to show your identity. तो प्रेशर डील करके you have to be extremely patient, extremely calm. एकदम से टेंशन नहीं लेना चाहिए. If you don't know the answer, be extremely polite. Sorry sir, I don't know the answer. They'll appreciate the honesty. They'll absolutely appreciate the honesty, rather than we are trying to cook up or beat around the bush to put forward any answers. So never do that. If you don't know, fine, you don't know, not a problem. So this is how then eventually over a period of time my interview went on very well. Then started swimming. So one of the panelists was a good swimmer, so he asked me, I don't know, it was a coincidence something, so उसने पूछ शुरू कर दिया कि tell me about the swimming. So that was a time when there was one Australian swimmer who had used a specific fabric which could increase his speed, but despite that Michael Phelps won. ठीक है, तो this was something because I love swimming, so I was constantly following swimming throughout. So I knew कि वो कौन सा क्लॉथ पहना था, कौन सा ड्रैग पहना था. That is when they started banning after the Michael Phelps वाला होने के बाद अगले ओलंपिक्स में they stopped allowing the men to wear a full body suit.
Okay.
The full body suit नहीं था, it was only the bottom one. Full body suit पहनने से अपर बॉडी का थ्रस्ट और ड्रैग से ना स्पीड बढ़ जाता है. तो ये सब चीजें उन्होंने, तो ये स्विमिंग था, मेरा हॉबी था, तो इसको मेरे को बहुत अच्छे से पसंद था. तो दैट इज व्हेन ही वाज फेल्ट गुड कि हाँ इसको पता है इसके बारे में, तो दैट तो अच्छे मोड में ये चलने लग गया. तो एवरीबॉडी ठीक है चलो कि अच्छा लगने लग गया. तो इसलिए हॉबी के बारे में पता रहना बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि बहुत सारी चीजें उस पे रोटेट होने लगती है. अगर उनको पता चल गया कि तुम्हारा स्ट्रॉन्ग होल्ड है और तुम उन्हीं को उसी डायरेक्शन में डाइवर्ट करने लग गए, इफ यू गो इन दैट डायरेक्शन, देन इट विल बी अ ब्राउनी पॉइंट फॉर यू कि उसी में घुस के तुम्हें सवाल करना शुरू कर देंगे. तो ये ऐसा था मेरा इंटरव्यू. तो आई वुड ऑल्सो सजेस्ट कि आपको अपने अपने हॉबीज, इंजीनियरिंग सब्जेक्ट्स तो सही से पढ़ना जरूरी हो जाता है. तो कॉलेज का भी तुम आई थिंक यू आर फ्रॉम खड़गपुर, आईडी खड़गपुर.
Yes, sir,
तो
yes, sir,
कॉलेज,
yes.
हाँ, तो यू शुड बी नोइंग कि कब एस्टेब्लिश हुआ, क्या इंपॉर्टेंस था, किसने एस्टेब्लिश किया, और कितने हैं. अब और आईआईटीज बढ़ गए हैं, तो कंपटीशन बढ़ गया है, लेकिन इट्स ऑलवेज 7 आईआईटीज व्हिच हैव बीन एस्टेब्लिश्ड शुरुआत में. उसका इंपॉर्टेंस अब बहुत ज्यादा है कंपेयर टू जो आईआईटीज अभी नए हुए हैं. तो यू शुड बी एबल टू जस्टिफाई दैट आल्सो. तो कैसे है एंड ऑल. तो ये सही था. ऐसे ही आपको पता रहेगा तो अच्छा रहेगा.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, the hobby that I've mentioned, mono acting, I do mono acting in my mother tongue, Kannada. So if they
Okay.
ask me to enact, I can do it in Kannada, right?
Yeah. But you have to explain it to the people after you enact it in Kannada.
Yeah, okay, sir.
And you should be of I would suggest if you do it you should do, if you do it something of our sandalwood importance, then it be even good.
Yes, sir. It's based on the Satyavan Savitri, the Yama and Savitri confrontation. So based on that, that was my mono acting that I used to do in the mock interviews. So I explained the sequence and then I used to do the mono act.
Fine, not a problem.
Okay,
You should
sir.
be able to explain that also. Not a problem.
Yes, sir. And also, sir, my option is public administration. In addition to revising my notes, what are the other things that I'm supposed to do?
I think that is fine, but try to link it with your dynamic current affairs as of now. Ki how impact pad raha and all, how the policy formulations, how is it taking a turn during the COVID times. So if you read any of the, I hardly remember PubAd now, but if you try to link your PubAd subjects or any of your PubAd the authors, so if you relate them to a dynamic thing, then it will be good.
Okay.
It will be so that will it will be kind of a brownie point for you when you have to explain things.
Okay, sir.
And whatever you're doing is enough. You don't have to do
Yes,
anything
sir.
extra. It's entirely based on your identity, your personality. So it's not necessary that, see, when it so happens that when we prepare for interview, there are a lot of WhatsApp groups, there are a lot of forums, everybody is putting forward, you should know this, you should know that, you should know this, but you're the best judge. So if you're knowing your DAF, so that is what you can know the best is what you have in hand. That is your DAF, right? So if you are extremely thorough with your DAF, then that's end of it. I mean, they will not go beyond, because it's like an ocean. I mean, they might ask anything, and it's not necessary that you have to know everything. So but only thing is you need to be extremely polite if you don't know any of the points.
And so my other question is with reference to the service preference. My fourth preference is Indian Foreign Service. Because I give third to GST and customs. That's because GST being a new law and it has more of dynamicity compared to foreign service. So that's why based on dynamicity as a parameter, I started giving the service preference. That's how I evaluated my service preference.
What is the second option?
IPS.
Okay, I think you should still work on the reason why it's the third and fourth. Because see, I mean, I'm not countering you, but I'm just giving a alternate opinion here. The reason being, foreign service is extremely it's extremely dynamic. the relations between the countries, the relation with the India, it will vary over a period of time. But GST is one-time law; they have made it, and that's it, done and dusted. They're going to work on it for over a period of time. What could happen is the increase in the economy by increased GST collection.
Yes. Sir, because me being a commerce student, I had knowledge of GST and customs, and also my major aim was to be within the domestic boundaries. So in that way, I gave the first five preference to be in that way.
Okay, domestic boundary is a sound answer actually. Usually that's the one which usually have. If you're a single kid, if you are too much attached to your parents, then you don't want to leave them and go. That could be a very honest answer. They'll appreciate.
Yes, sir.
So it won't be like why fifth, but you should know why fifth. So that won't be a problem.
Okay, sir.
But do work on that
Yes,
the
sir.
GST thing which you said. That's not
Yes,
actually satisfying.
okay, sir.
है ना?
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Good. So we'll keep interacting if sir permits, and in case you need any help or anything, any such key how to work on it, I'll be ready to help. So I was not actually open to interviewing you guys because because I thought I should understand you guys first rather than interviewing you. So the next time when we see if it's required or sir permits, then we can go ahead with the interview. So work on your DAF and work on your personal hobbies and personality and all. So since now it's the closed thing, I mean lockdown and all, so going out and enjoying also is not happening. So don't get stressed too much about the interview. Don't get stressed too much about what kind of question they might ask, how this is gonna happen, and what if I don't know and all. You should keep your mind calm and totally composed, because that's a quality which will actually help you out when you enter the service also. So all the best to all the guys here, I mean, and the ma'am also. I'll next time when I talk to you or after I'll see a much better personality here, and I would like to see you guys, your name in the list. So you'll be traveling to Lavasna for that training. So all the best.
Thank you,
All
sir.
the best, all the guys, and
Thank you,
we'll
sir.
keep meeting. Thank you so much, sir. So
Thank you.
it was
Thank
a
you. This
it
is the
was
first time
a
we are interacting with our students.
yes, sir. I felt really nice, sir, when I got a call. Then
Yes.
I thought I should contribute because you have helped me a lot in PubAd, sir. So I used to write in the Jainagar. I used to go and write the answers. So I used to always think when will I get a chance to and give back service. But I got an opportunity, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And anytime if you feel, sir, I should contribute more, so I'll be up for it, sir. And
Sure.
I can help the kids also so that they could clear the service, sir. Thank you
There's
so much.
one participant by name Deepesh. I think the person is not interacted because he was not getting the proper schedule of the
Okay, sir.
session.
Okay,
Let
sir.
the chance, if by any chance he has something to ask, let him ask. Deepesh, would you like to talk something about your dad? I think no, he's not responding. Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much. I
Thank you,
think
sir.
every section of the DF, uh,
Yes, sir.
that should help. Wherever, whatever insights you've given, each and every section that is very micro. I mean, it's like if suppose the students attend 2 or 3 mock interviews, still these kind of micro issues will not have been dealt. So you have done
Yes.
very good insights. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
All the best, kids. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
So,
very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bindu, Saurabh, and Deepesh, based on your optional subjects or anything, in case if you need certain insights, please let us know. We will conduct regarding that as well.
Okay.
Any
Surely,
insight?
sir. We'll let you know.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.